friends, it's the Stitches. I just got a new camera. It's a hand-me-down, but it's new to me, and it's a very different type of camera than what I've been using. So if the quality is a little bit inconsistent for the next couple videos, that's why. I'm just still learning how to use this camera. Speaking of filming, let's talk about films. I love movies, I love fashion, I love movies with crazy fashion, and I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably do too. So for today's video, I'm going to share with you my top 5 favorite films. These are in no particular order. I feel like they're all equally good in their own right, except for like the last one, but that's a secret. And these are all comedies, so if you're a person who doesn't like horror movies necessarily, I personally love them, but I know a lot of people don't, so you can watch all of these safely. So the first movie I want to talk about is called Uptown Girls. It's an absolutely adorable story of a shy little girl who is nannied by sort of a irresponsible but fun and quirky woman in her 20s, and they just form a very important and life-changing friendship with each other. The girl is very mature for her age, and she has a lot of interesting hobbies, and she's kind of a germaphobe. So it's definitely an interesting, like, combination of characters. This movie doesn't have as much crazy fashion, but there is a fashion element in the plot. The main character kinda is that, you know, dream fashion designer type, but she's rich but isn't really, and has a very interesting sense of style, but doesn't necessarily make money off of it, but probably could if she tried. In the beginning of the film, she meets this guy that she thinks is gonna be like her one, gets very crazy about him, steals his lucky jacket, and then he obviously is like, girl, you're kind of crazy, but I really want my jacket back. She accidentally kind of ruins it, so she transforms it, fixes it up, makes it into something absolutely amazing and incredible and way better than it was originally, and he claims that he hates it. He basically is just like, oh, of course you would mess up my jacket, you're an awful person, I hate you, never talk to me again type of thing. But then he uses it in a music video, because he's a musician, obviously, and doesn't credit her at all. And there's this this interesting dynamic that happens where she kind of has to prove herself, but like at the same time, she's way better than anybody else and really shouldn't have to prove herself. It's one of those early 2000s movies.
Is that so? Uh-huh. News flash, Mussolini. I quit!
Swinging door.
Are you all right, Miss Gum?
Next on my list is Clueless, and honestly, I don't know how somebody could watch this channel and not know about Clueless, but in case you haven't, it's definitely worth watching at least once in your lifetime. Even if you're not into fashion, it's just a good movie. If you really like colorful, over-the-top, 90s posh style, then this film was absolutely tailor-made for you. My favorite scene is in the beginning, where the main character is, you know, getting up and getting dressed for the day, and there's that montage of her getting dressed, but it has a little bit of a twist. She has a computer database with every item in her wardrobe in it, and she uses it in the morning to pick out her outfits like she's a goddamn real-life dress-up game. Like, she boops the little buttons and like her outfits form on the computer, and she's like, oh, okay, I'll like wear that today. And it's like, amazing. This is an absolute 90s movie through and through, a 90s teen movie. We all know what 90s teen movies are like. She falls in love with somebody, they wind up together, there's, you know, wacky, crazy things that happen that have to like, obstacles they have to overcome. Although I will say it's real creepy that her love interest is her ex-stepbrother, who for some reason still lives with them. Like, his mom got divorced from her dad. They weren't like blood relation. Like I guess her real mom died when she was a kid or whatever, or like got divorced or whatever, but like her biological mother is not in the picture, never mentioned in the movie ever. His biological mother is obviously a different woman who like was married to her dad, and then like they got divorced, and then for some reason he stayed with the dad instead of his biological mom, and then
Okay, I guess.
I don't know, it's weird and it's creepy, and that's probably the one aspect of this movie that I'm not a huge fan of, but everything else is perfect. Next up on my list is Michelle and Romeo's high school reunion. So the last movie took place in a high school. This next movie takes place after high school. So these two girls have been best friends since high school, and after high school they moved out to LA to be big fashion designers and got an apartment together and worked terrible waitress jobs to get things by, but like they haven't reached a point where they've actually become successful designers yet. They feel kind of bad about that because, you know, they went out to the city to be big fashion designers and they were like nobodies in high school, and now is their big chance to be somebody, and they still aren't really anybody yet. So in order to go to their high school reunion, they make up these little lies about their lives and this whole story about how they're successful living in the city and have all these great lives, and their classmates obviously pick up on it like immediately. It doesn't work out, and they then have to kind of like pick up the pieces, and like it's just one of those stories. Michelle and Romeo's style is what Dolls Kill wishes it could be. It's like that crappy Sugar Thrills brand from Dolls Kill had a baby with Glitters for Dinner, but like before either of those brands ever existed. I think it's just a very relatable thing for us millennials to watch, because like most of us are still in that phase where we're in between. Like, we've started our career, we know what we want to do with our lives, but we haven't actually made it yet.
What the hell is your problem, Christy? Why are you always such a nasty bitch? You get some kind of sick pleasure from torturing other people? I mean, yeah, okay. So Michelle and I did make up some lame story. We only did it because we wanted you to treat us like human beings. But you know what I finally realized? I don't care if you like us, because we don't like you. You're a bad person with an ugly heart, and we don't give a flying fuck what you think.
Next up on my list is not in English, so subtitles are definitely a must if you don't speak Japanese, but it is Kamikaze Girls. I discovered this movie when I was in high school, and I've been madly in love with it ever since. I don't have any of my DVDs anymore. I don't even have a DVD player, but I still have my copy of Kamikaze Girls on DVD, and you can pry it from my cold dead hands. It's about a Japanese Lolita who meets a girl in a biker gang, and they become friends. And it's another one of those like unlikely duos that turn out to have like this amazing and beautiful and life-changing friendship, kind of like Uptown Girls, but like the Japanese version. I just really love it. It's really fun. It has some really over-the-top storytelling to it, like a Japanese teen movie, I guess, is what they're often like, but I've just seen Kamikaze Girls. I mostly just watch anime and horror movies when it comes to Japanese media. It's really good. If you like old school Lolita, you will love every aspect of this film because she's a lifestyle Lolita, and like everything about her life is absolutely frilly and aesthetic and perfect, except for the fact that she's like dying inside because she has no friends, but then she like meets the biker gang girl and she's like kind of resistant because she's in a biker gang, and you probably shouldn't be friends with people in gangs, but like it warms my heart. There's also a manga series that's based off of it that I have read, but it's like only really loosely based off of it, and then the novel also has a lot of differences, so I feel like the movie can really stand on its own as its own thing, but I do recommend, if you like it, reading the novel. The manga's kind of superfluous. It's unnecessary.
私だってロココに身を捧げた女。フリル全開のお洋服で優雅に田園地帯をお散歩と行きたいけれど。
And then the last movie is my favorite movie ever on the face of the earth, so if you guys don't like it, I'm gonna feel really bad. So please go watch it and love it as much as I do. But it's called But I'm a Cheerleader. I just feel like it's a must-watch for any queer girl at all, any woman-loving woman out there, because I'm sure if you are a queer woman and you've been like, hey, I want to see myself on film, and have watched queer films, especially say ones like Blue is the Warmest Color, it's kind of disappointing because literally no lesbian media ever has a happy ending. And there are historical reasons for that. There are a lot of cultural setups for that as to why that is. But this movie isn't one of those. It doesn't really fit into the queer lesbian movie like cultural dynamic because it actually has a happy ending. Like, there are a couple sad parts to it, but overall, like, the message is that there's nothing wrong with queer girls, and then they actually get to have a happy ending where two girls who are madly in love with each other actually get to, like, get the girl at the end. But I feel like that is enough of a reason to watch this movie, just because historically that's not a thing that happens in film. So, like, it's just very heartwarming to watch because it's also just a really nice and cute relationship. So obviously you've gathered that this is a romance movie, but the actual plot is that the main character, she gets sent to a gay conversion camp and she doesn't actually realize that she's gay. Like, everybody around her can see, like, girl, you gay. Like, she has a boyfriend, and like there's just this really awkward make-out scene between the two of them in the beginning, and she's just like off in her own little world, like fantasizing about boobs. And like he's like making out with her, but she's just kind of like just laying there thinking about boobs. And it's like, girl, you're gay, but she has no idea. Like, she absolutely has no idea. It's why the title is called But I'm a Cheerleader, because that's literally what she says after her family is like, you're gay and we don't agree with it and we're sending you to a conversion camp. And she's like, but I'm a cheerleader. Like, her whole life she's lived inside this very heterosexual box, living up to female, you know, standards, but then just feeling completely unfulfilled by it and having no idea why. And then she gets sent to this conversion camp, and like, gay conversion camps are evil and awful and terrible and should not exist, but this particular conversion camp is the most aesthetic thing I've ever seen in my goddamn life. And she meets another girl there at the conversion camp and just falls absolutely head over heels in love with her. And then, you know, they have their little relationship and it's cute. If you like my style and my aesthetic even a little bit, you will love this film because of just how much I've been influenced by the art design of this movie. Like, every element of this movie is so well designed and so beautifully crafted, and it's kind of sad that really only like a small pocket of lesbians know about this movie because it's so good. It is a cultural treasure and nobody knows about it. So here you go. Here it is. Go watch it if you haven't already. It's amazing and everybody should love it because it's just so good, and there's really no reason not to love it unless you're terribly homophobic, in which case I really don't know what you're doing here because I'm hella bi.
Backwards and forwards and backwards in a very clean line. You go in, go another, you go up, and you go down. Girls, is everybody paying attention? And you go in and out in and out, and in and out. Get into every little crevice. And in and out.
And you slip it in and out. And add a little more oil and shove it in. Take it out. Put some muscle into it. Shove it in and out. And shove it in. Take it out. Okay. Who wants to go down with me?
So that is just as much as I want to gush about my favorite movies for today. And sometimes you just want to sit down and watch something beautifully aesthetic. I mean, that's why I've seen ContraPoints' videos 50 times each. So here are some actual happy things to watch that are aesthetic. I hope everybody has a good day. I hope everybody watches at least one of these movies and enjoys it. I mean, obviously you're free to not enjoy these movies if you don't want to, but if you found at least one movie on this list that you enjoy, then I will consider this video a success. And I will see you all next time. Bye!